It's time for a special edition of the Whovo Review podcast. Today's episode was recorded live at NOLA Time Fest III. I'm Farrar Hutkins, your host, and my guests are Louis Daubin and Paul Patachek. This is where we talk about Last Christmas. Written by Stephen Moffat, directed by Paul Wilmshurst. The script editor was David P. Davis. And I am going to start with the gentleman to my left. Paul, what did you think of Last Christmas?
I think Last Christmas pretty much reinforces a lot of the theories that I've stated on your podcast and around, is that I think the Doctor is not in reality. I think he is still in a dream state, some kind of perhaps matrix, and his mind is giving him all these clues. Santa Claus is patently real. Just wanted to clarify that. But Santa Claus with Tangerine, not so much. So I think that he is still in his subconscious mind is putting him in these scenarios to try to wake him up. And I'm sticking to my guns on that one.
You know, when I saw the tangerine in the window at the end of the episode, that's when I said, aha. So we're still not in reality, are we? Because that means that Nick Frost / Ricky Gervais / Santa Claus left the tangerine there. So when will we get, as they said in Red Dwarf, back to reality? Louis, what did you think of Last Christmas?
I think it's taken them a long time to substantiate that theory. You know, by next season, the viewers will have forgotten about that. Nice and sort of Inception stuff going on in Last Christmas.
Yeah.
In fact, I think he drew from a whole lot of really good science fiction. You know, The Thing, Alien, Inception, etc.
Yeah, and as a fan of Red Dwarf, have you read the Red Dwarf novels at all?
Yes. Better Than Life.
The book version of Better Than Life, when Crichton carves the word dying onto Lister's arm so that he sees it in the game.
Oh, good catch.
That was a direct parallel. When I saw the writing on the chalkboard, I thought, wow, this Stephen Moffat has really delved deeply into the sci-fi literature.
Or ripped off everything in sight.
Or, well, he's at least read the book, right? He's at least read the book.
You know, there's something else you could say. You mentioned the reference to Aliens, the direct reference to Aliens.
Yes.
And who played in Aliens? John Hurt. John Hurt plays the War Doctor. So my theory about the nature of reality in Doctor Who is not limited to this incarnation. I wouldn't be surprised if Moffat tries to pull some great reshuffling of things, and the Doctor has been in the state, subconscious state, living out multiple incarnations and regenerations.
Are you going to say that he's going to wake up at the beginning of Series 10 and it's going to be David Tennant again?
No. No.
That's what I was thinking.
He's going to wake up. Okay, here's my theory. This coming Christmas episode, there's going to be a Doctor Who Sherlock crossover, which has already been filmed. There's a Sherlock who is part of the Doctor's psyche, who's a second genius, he's cooked up to help him solve what the heck is really going on. And together, you give the fans what they want. You save money on 2 Christmas specials, and then the Doctor wakes up, and it's Tom Baker, 80 years old, and he's in The Deadly Assassin.
Brilliant.
Then he regenerates and you get Peter Capaldi. Bam, everybody's happy.
That is so clever, it'll never get done.
Or they could hire Sean Pertwee.
Clear all the tangerines up. What? Pick them up, all of them, Ian.
You know no one really likes the tangerines, don't you?
How dare you? That's my signature gift. That and the walnut.
The straw in the brain thing reminded me of that episode a really weird episode of Next Generation. What was it called? Where they were all having really weird dreams.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And there was actually a scene with somebody like sucking Troy's brain out with a straw. There was a Troy cake.
Data was cutting it.
Data was cutting the Troy cake. God, it's been so long since I've seen that episode. That was.
I think it was Riker.
It was Riker. Yeah, Riker was sucking Troy's brains out with a straw.
This is totally not happening.
I've got 3 words, Shona. Don't make me use them.
What 3 words?
My Little Pony.
Shut up, you.
Who has read the Superman annual number 11 from 1985?
Wow.
I have not, but apparently somebody told me that there was a story in there. It sounds like a really good story called "For the Man Who Has Everything."
Well, your geek cred just went through the roof and then shattered.
It was written by Alan Moore.
Thank you. And apparently that there was a thing that got Superman and put him into a dream state. Apparently, folks went to go visit Superman for his birthday in the Fortress of Solitude, and he's lying there with this thing, and he apparently was having some sort of benevolent dream, and that was part of the thing that it was it was on his chest, not on his face, but apparently that was a similar thing too. But also, this episode I think gets into a lot of the what has been kind of hinted at in previous episodes of the season, where there's this reality is not what you think it is. This is a non-dualistic existence, which kind of borrows from certain Hindu spiritual texts, where you have to work to figure out what reality is. You have to figure out how to let go of certain things, because the only thing you know is yourself. Everything else is potentially an illusion.
Well, in the Doctor's case, does he even know that?
That's a good question. That's something that was going on all season, which was that the Doctor is mistaken. He could be mistaken about what reality is.
Yeah, but there has been some very suspicious stuff going on. You know, these fairy tales about Robin Hood and creatures laying a moon-sized object. Really kind of difficult to swallow.
Trust nothing. Accept nothing you see. Whatever happens, interrogate everything.
In case it's a lie.
In case it's a lie.
Watching it the second time, I kind of got the feeling that this was an episode that they already had, like a 40-minute episode. They had a script, and then they turned it into the Christmas episode by altering certain things, changing the location of it, and putting Santa Claus in there as the Deus Ex Machina. Anybody else get the feeling that this could have been a standalone episode, not a Christmas episode?
Yeah, was Santa Claus just thrown in there for effect?
Not necessarily thrown in for effect, but it looked to me like a very good rewrite of a previous story.
It certainly was the best Christmas episode I think we've ever seen.
I would, maybe not the best, but I would rank it up there with...
What's your favorite?
The very first one, The Christmas Invasion.
Okay.
And I like that one because it had a completely different tone. I knew that it was going to be a fun episode, especially when I saw things like spinning Christmas trees and like deadly brass bands. I know that Doctor Who's supposed to be getting darker, but I always think that the Christmas episode should be a little lighter. And there was some comedy in this one, but it was a little bit confusing because it looked like such a dark episode that the comic elements of it kind of threw me off. Like I felt like, am I supposed to laugh at this?
Yeah, it would have been better served if it was darker. It kind of reminded me of, what was it, kind of a Base Under Siege maybe type thing, Seeds of Doom or Ark in Space or something like that. I think a lot of Capaldi's stories are intentionally throwbacks
Yeah.
and revisiting and reprocessing of previous adventures, which I'll say is another clue to me that he's, reliving some experiences over and over again.
They're a bit like face huggers, aren't they?
Face huggers.
Oh, Alien. The horror movie Alien.
There's a horror movie called Alien. That's really offensive. No wonder everyone keeps invading you.
Did either of you guys watch this with younger viewers?
No.
No.
Did not.
No. I was just curious how the dream within a dream within a dream worked for the younger viewers, because I can certainly say if I were watching that at 8 years old, I would be really confused. I almost think it would have worked better for the kids if the entire thing had been completely surreal, and then at the end, it turns out that just that was the dream. Without the dream within a dream thing, if they had just been in a completely surreal situation and there was only one twist, in other words. Instead of 3 twists, we got one.
Yeah, it was unnecessarily complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Thank you, Stephen Moffat.
Yeah, or was that just a way of stretching the time, stretching the plot?
On the other hand, I like the fact that it doesn't talk down to its viewers. You know, that's
Yep.
something I like about Doctor Who. It's a family show. It's
Yeah.
not a kiddie show.
Yeah.
That is a very fair point.
I can commit several million housebreaks in one night dressed in a red suit with jingle bells, so of course I can get back into the infirmary.
We had don't blink, don't look, don't breathe, and now don't think.
All the don'ts.
What's next?
Smell.
Don't smell. Were there only 4 dream crabs on the entire planet? Was that explained? If it was explained, it might have just been like a throwaway line. Anyone remember?
No, and that kind of lends to what the Doctor would have then said. Well, wait a minute. This is if there's not going to be just 4, and then he'd be potentially concerned about them being throughout the planet. He wouldn't have just he potentially could have jaunted off, but that threat would be potentially a worldwide threat.
Yeah, if it had
All
been a 2-part
humanity.
episode, maybe.
Yeah, it makes me
Yeah.
wonder if they're going to have a callback to it, like in a later episode. Maybe they're going to figure out where these came from, and they're going to have to go after the source, and that will, in turn, kind of like the Borg, you know,
It'd be fun. It's a worthy monster.
take away their mothership, and then
Yeah.
they kind of fall apart without it.
It's a good enough monster to bring back.
It is. I just hope they don't run them into the ground like they did the Weeping Angels.
Popularity, you know.
That's
I mean,
true.
you can't cosplay as a dream crab very easily.
Yeah, but it would be
If you make
it'd
that
be
little
fantastic.
slit big enough, you might be able to see through it. One thing I have to give credit for is Stephen Moffat's Monsters. He has come up with some really good original ideas for things to scare people. And,
Yeah, and I think
I've
that
been
is staying
impressed.
power than the stuff that we were getting in the first few seasons. Like, I mean, the Slitheen were run into the ground,
Oh my.
you know?
Yes.
And that was the most memorable thing that they came up with that was new. But thankfully, they've been going up and beyond that.
If we do see them again, what's your hope? If we see the dream crabs, what sort of story do you think that they would appear in?
I don't know, surprise me. Maybe something that's not so heavily drawn from previous movies.
Maybe something that's not Earthbound,
I don't know.
attacking
Yeah, that would be fun.
humans in space.
But I'm always into non-Earth episodes. You know, they spend way too much time there because of budget.
In another discussion, they were talking about the fact that, Doctor Who is ultimately about human issues, and so it has to take place on Earth. Well, not necessarily. I mean, we've had very good human conversations that took place far from Earth. I mean,
Yeah, they can be relatable, but not in the same setting.
one of my favorite memories from early Doctor Who is that great discussion in Tomb of the Cybermen, where the second Doctor talks to Victoria about family and about home. And there they are, far from home. And it was a very human thing. And in another discussion we had earlier today, The Impossible Planet was a very human story, far from Earth.
Yeah, Ark in Space is good for that too. The whole, idea of humanity breaking beyond our own.
Yeah. Classic Who had a lot of very human stories that took place not on Earth.
Yeah.
Robots of Death was a very human story, something that was about human emotions and suspicion and the different things that drive us. And it was nowhere near Earth. I don't think we even knew where it was. It was just on some random planet somewhere where they were mining for stuff.
Yeah, and that's something that you don't necessarily have to consider budget for, because if a lot of this stuff is done on a set, that set can be a set anywhere. You don't have to call it Earth. I mean, is that something that they're almost afraid to do? I mean, just break the ties of Earthbound, break the ties of Earth human companion. And then maybe have the relationship not have to be super special, like the impossible this or the girl that did this. I would like to see.
Yeah, you know
Some
what though?
changes there.
I mean, what you're asking for is something that makes the show less about drama between companions and the Doctor, and something that's more far-reaching. And it's something we don't get a whole lot of because the soap opera aspect of the show has been so popular.
I think what they're going to do, and I've heard this, is that they're going to try to get those cost savings, not necessarily through being Earthbound, but through spreading the story over 2 episodes.
Yeah,
So
you get to reuse your
you
sets
get
and
to reuse your
costumes and
sets, you get to
props.
reuse-
You're right. Next season's supposed to have a lot of two-parters.
Yeah.
So
The first 6 episodes are 3 two-parters.
Thankfully.
which is perfect because 2 times 45 is 90 minutes.
I love them. It captures more of the feel of the old show.
It's like when they had 2 45-minute episodes during Colin Baker's tenure.
Dreams within dreams, dream states nested inside each other, all perfectly possible, especially when we are dealing with creatures who have weaponized our dreams against us.
What about the fact that this again was going to be a planned exit of a companion, but then they did a rewrite because the actress changed her mind?
Yeah, that to me looked like a really nice kind of like Peter Pan. When Peter Pan sees old Wendy.
Yeah, it's a great place to leave Clara.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
But then they decided to reboot her again. Did anybody else get the feeling when she said that at the very end that, wait a minute, have we just completely rewritten Clara again? Like, she was in love with Danny and her whole life was about Danny, and now Danny was her silver medal. Like, she wants to be with the Doctor again. But if I was thinking, Paul, like you were saying, if this is all part of the Doctor's mind, that would explain why she decided to come with him after he asked her. Whereas previously she's been so headstrong that she wouldn't do what he asked her, probably just because he wants her to.
Right. It's almost
she wants
like,
everything to be her decision, prompted or not.
It's almost like the Doctor is tweaking her. He keeps retweaking her personality. I mean, in the when Matt Smith took her on board, and she's like, well, she's like the perfect companion. She looks this way, she acts this way, but then not quite, and he keeps changing the companion. I don't know. I'm hopeful that this coming season, it's not going to give us a big reveal. They don't do that, but maybe it'll give us some more clues to what's actually going on. They're just stringing us along, man.
If Clara's contract had ended, do you think they were grooming Shona to be the
definitely.
next
Yeah, the Shona
companion?
Shuffle was fantastic.
The Shona Shuffle.
Yes, yeah, like what that.
To the same song we hear in every Christmas episode of Doctor Who.
Yes.
Because apparently Stephen Moffat really likes Slade,
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, they were definitely grooming her to be a companion. And it's likely not going to happen unless they immediately follow up this other episode to them landing and picking her up.
And the thing on her list with Forgive Dave lent it to Moffat's idea of always having a couple. So I was thinking, oh, Shona forgives Dave, they get back together, they end up with the Doctor. But that may not happen in this universe. That'll be an alternate universe Doctor Who.
I work in a shop. I'm sorry? I thought I was a scientist. That's rubbish.
What do you think for the next Christmas episode? Which Santa are we going to see? I'm hoping for maybe Dalek Santa, Cyber Santa.
Are you on the naughty list?
Dalek Santa would be good because then you could have special weapons Santa. I think it would be great if we had the Futurama Santa in the next episode. The giant robot Santa who shoots death lasers from his eyes. Krampus would be good.
Ooh, a Krampus story on Doctor Who. No, that's overdue. That's long overdue. Wow, I think you might have hit it.
Wouldn't that be good?
Every Christmas is last Christmas.
So if we start out with 3 two-parters, Moffat is going to be kind of in his stride because a lot of his episodes, to me anyway, have felt like he was really trying to cram a lot of stuff into 45 minutes.
Yeah.
His two-parters are really where he excelled.
I'm trying not to set expectations.
Trying to reserve judgment.
Who else is writing this season?
We know who's coming back, right? We know that the Mistress is coming back. We know that. Are these spoilers? Well, we know that Osgood is coming back.
Really?
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh.
So, and we know that Zygons are coming
Somebody's
back.
going to regenerate her from her glasses?
Either that or the one that got killed was a Zygon or some
Exactly.
ridiculous explanation like that.
Yeah.
No one's ever gone in the Moffat verse.
Yes.
Danny's probably going to come back from the other thing. They're going to regenerate.
Yeah, he's like the anti.
The piece
Joss
of the
Whedon.
Matrix is going to bring him back, and the Matrix slice, I think they called it. It's like Doctor Who pizza. Hello, here's your Matrix slice. I would like to see Time Lords again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to see that. I'd like to see Romana again.
Yes.
I'm seeing
Unfortunately,
okay.
Mary Tam died of cancer, so we can't see her again.
We'd see Romana 3 or 4 or something.
True, yeah. We could have Romana 3. It would be nice to have someone, a companion who is from the future, not from present-day Earth. You can still be a human.
I think recent Doctor Who was best when the companion was not somebody who necessarily had an interest or could be easily impressed by the Doctor, more of a peer, which Romana was, and more recently Donna was.
More of a sparring partner.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of have that by giving him really back-chatty companions. But unfortunately, when everybody in the episode is back-chatty, I mean, we had a sarcastic Santa Claus, we had 2 sarcastic elves, we had 4 sarcastic crew members, and we had a sarcastic doctor and a sarcastic companion. Boy, after an hour of that, I was ready for a break.
There's like a first day of Christmas thing going on there.
Yeah. What I do want to, anybody with video editing skills, I would love to see a supercut of every time Clara says shut up to someone who's not talking.
Okay, no. Hang on, stop. Shut up. What? Seriously, you...
Previous season was mostly all about the Doctor figuring out who he was and what he was there for. Now that that's happened, what's next? Apart from, it was all a dream.
Has he figured that out? Has he sorted it?
I guess in 2 months we'll find out.
Does he know why he's wearing that face, you know? What happened in that first episode with Peter Capaldi? He's in a room for sleeping, all dedicated to sleeping, and Clara walks in and he's mumbling to himself. Is he still in that bed?
A lot of the horror of the last few seasons, and certainly with Moffat as showrunner, is that sort of existential doubt. The horror of realizing that you're not who you think you are, and what's around you is not what you think it is, and you can no longer be sure of yourself or anything around you. That's scary. You don't really need a monster per se, although Stephen Moffat does good monsters. That questioning of reality really makes for good suspense and really makes for good horror. You could call it the monster of doubt or something. Losing moments of time. The Silence was a really good example of that.
Listen was a really good example
you
of that.
You lose part of your life.
Yeah.
It's gone. Entire things, entire days or months or weeks of your life have been erased from your own memory. That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good power to give the baddie from that arc. If he can keep the horror going, I think we're in for a good suspenseful season. They seem to be really liking the whole dark fairy tale aspect, and they're probably going to stick with that since Capaldi has seemed to have success with it, even though he's been swimming upstream with a lot of the awful dialogue they've given him. He's really been... Say what?
He's out acting the script.
Yeah. He says Capaldi's been out acting the scripts.
Hey, so did Eccleston, though.
Yeah, Eccleston was given a couple of clunkers. As fans, we have to realize that now that we have Doctor Who with 13 episodes per season, and everything is being planned in advance, our expectations are so much higher than they were for the classic series. The classic series was full of clunkers, and it was full of plots that never went anywhere because they needed to fill out that week. They needed another episode, But Inferno was supposed to be a 4-part story, and they stretched it to 7. It happens. And we don't expect that anymore. We expect a much higher quality from the current show. So we as fans are becoming very unforgiving in terms of quality writing and quality production. The production quality is there. The writing, every time we get a new writer on the show, it takes them 2 or 3 episodes to really find their stride. So I try to cut them some slack. Whenever I see an episode that I'm not really fond of, I go, who wrote it? Haven't heard of him? I'll give him 2 more.
Well, the author that wrote Mummy on the Orient Express and was it Flatliners?
Flatline was outstanding.
I thought both of those were very new, original to Who concept monsters. And that guy is the same writer who wrote Frequently Asked Questions About Time Travel, which is a fun little movie. But I think if we can get more injection of writers like that who bring something new and self-contained stories that are 2-parters, I think that the series would benefit from that. I do like the story arcs, but when the story arc becomes more important than the story, that's where I have a problem.
When the characters suffer because you have to keep the arc going.
Correct. You
Yeah,
do
that's a problem.
something in a story specifically to fulfill that what is an end game for the season, but which is really not an end game because there's all these multi-season story arcs. That's a great hook. It's a great hook, but it's also going to be satisfying to have something that's self-contained.
What I'm hoping in having two-parters in the next season is not quite as much of the, and then the episode ends and time passes, and we have 2 lines of dialogue at the beginning of the next episode to explain what's happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
That's really beginning to hack me off a little
that's
bit.
lazy writing.
I mean, it's kind of insulting to the audience. It's like, no, we want to see this. We want to see the character development. I don't want to just hear that a year has passed. It's really hard for me to feel a connection with Danny and Clara's relationship when the only thing that I've seen is, oh, it's been a year since the last episode, so they're closer now. Well, how about some demonstration of that instead of just, we have a line of dialogue and then into the action we go? You know, I don't mind seeing characters develop as long as it's well done. And I think a lot of that was due to the fact that they had to have a series of episodes which were pulled from different writers, and it was Stephen Moffat's job to sandwich the arc into those episodes. And very often, probably just for time, he ended up throwing the characterization into a couple of lines of expository dialogue, and that was it. I mean, that was all we had time for. It was a 45-minute show. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that with the two-parters, we get less of that, and we get to see more of the development of new Clara and the Doctor.
Well, look at you all happy. That's rare.
You know what's rarer? Second chances. I never get a second chance, so what happened this time? Don't even know who to thank.
Parting thoughts, gentlemen? Because we're about out of time.
Okay.
I am optimistic that the new season is going to be a fun romp, and like you said, I would like to see we start an adventure, we get an infusion of new characters that are unique to that adventure. There's some development between the main characters. We dematerialize and we immediately land on another adventure and we hit the ground running. Keep it exciting. Keep some of the ongoing backstory to the minimal. But I think that's where they're going. I really do.
Okay. Lewis?
Yeah, I'd like to see more standalone episodes, less of a big convoluted arc. I think Moffat has relied on that a little too much. And bring on more of the good throwback feel of what Capaldi brings to the character. It's a lot like First Doctor. It's a lot like Sixth Doctor. And I happen to like those. So, yeah, bring it.
He can
Can't
do
wait.
the comedy, too. He's got a little second Doctor in him, too.
Right, but he's always playing the straight man, which is he's Mo from the Three Stooges.
Do we have a couple minutes for questions from the audience, if
Yes.
there are any? All right.
I just was wondering if you'd heard the theory of why Capaldi looks like he does, looks like the guy from Pompeii.
Ooh, they've been teasing us about that, haven't they?
Yeah,
They were talking about going back into that episode.
And I have heard a theory, and I don't know if you guys have heard this one, but he got his regeneration straight from the Time Lords, straight from the crack in the universe where the Time Lords are.
Mm-hmm.
And the Time Lords love to punish the Doctor for breaking their rules.
Yes.
And he broke a major rule by saving that guy from Pompeii. And so it might be they start his regeneration with that to kind of punish him for that shows him what happens when he starts messing with paradoxes. Also, he's Scottish, much like Amy Pond was. Once again, a kind of a punishment of this is what happened. This is why we have the rules we have. This is what happens when you start making paradoxes and start touching with, messing around with more paradoxes than you can handle.
It's a fun theory. I like that.
So I really hope. I mean, obviously
They've already taken him to a volcano.
It's true.
Multiple times, right?
Yeah,
Very
he's been on
true.
that set twice. Cool, I like it.
And I like the round things. So I anticipate that.
Bring
we're
back
gonna
the
get-
round things.
I think we're going to get a new console. It's going to be a throwback, not exactly the same, not as small, maybe larger, but have combo roundels. And hexagons, kind of like the painting in the, behind the curator and the 50th.
And lots more people saying, I'm going to do a thing. Because dialogues for losers.
On that note.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time. That was the Whovo Review podcast with me, Farrar Hudkins, your host, guests Louis Dobbin and Paul Patachek. Recorded live at NOLA Time Fest III. The opening theme music for Whovo Review was performed by Louis Dobbin, the end theme performed by the Consortium of Genius. Email your questions and comments to whovoreview@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.